Hey guys, so I'm currently back home. As you can see, I'm currently wearing a sweater because it is officially fall in Vancouver, but I want to do a video putting together how I edit my Instagram photos and how you go from something like this to this. So if you guys are interested in knowing, I was gonna say my secrets, but they're like pretty common knowledge. Honestly, I learned to edit through just watching YouTube tutorials, just like this when I was starting out. So hopefully this helps. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you guys enjoy it and want more tutorials kind of like this, and let's get started.
All right, so the first step here is to sift through my Tulum photos and find the photos that I want to edit. So I'm gonna start by just previewing these here, and as you can see, these ones right here have a lot of people in them. So I just go through until I find one that I think is going to work. So I have actually a shot here where no one is on this rope thing, and so I'm just gonna stick a tag on that guy. Also, if you guys haven't watched my Tulum vlogs, definitely make sure to go check those out. I will leave them all linked down below, and you guys can actually see the footage from this day. So I'm just gonna take the photos and I'm gonna drag all these guys right into Photoshop. So since this is the main photo that we're gonna be using, I do wanna try and get all the people out of here, but as you can see in this image right here, there's really no one in the water, and so what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna take this photo and I'm actually gonna drag it on top of this other photo right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and line them up as good as I can. And so obviously you can't see the bottom one right now, but what you can actually do is go and change the opacity to 50%, so then you can kind of see one image over the other, and this is gonna allow you to line it up a lot better. So I have the opacity set at 76%, and I wanna line up the ladder right where the ladder is underneath. So what I want to do is carefully erase the top image, and I want to do it very slowly because I do have the feather set on, which means that when I erase it, it's going to go a little bit past where my brush is, so it looks a bit more natural. So I'll just carefully do it here so it doesn't erase any of the water there, but I do want to erase out this person. So I'll make my brush a little bit smaller and very carefully, once we get close to the edge, kind of make the brush smaller and smaller just so it's not affecting as much. What's nice about this image too is because there is so much rock and it's not a smooth image as you would describe it. It is quite easy to just erase the top layer, and even if you mess up a little bit, you probably wouldn't notice because there is so many kind of dark spots and random bushes that help cover everything up. So in terms of layering images, this is probably the easiest image you could ask to layer because there's just a lot going on. So now for the most important part, that is revealing myself in the image. And so I'm just kind of going space by space with my brush here just to make sure that it properly erases and looks normal, because I don't want the two images to not blend properly, but they are lined up pretty well. As you can see, the string here doesn't exactly match up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the image and make the water part a little bit smaller so it matches with the bottom image a little bit better. And as you can see, the string part right here actually starts to line up. All right, and then I'm just going in and doing any final adjustments that need to be made, and just using this patch tool right here to see if anything is out of place, but I think everything looks pretty good here. All right, so the next step, we want to save it. So just go File, Save, and we'll put Tulum, Cenote. And as you can see, the current format is Photoshop, and you want to make sure you're keeping it in its raw format, not a JPEG file, because then it's going to lose a lot of the color information, and then when editing it in Lightroom, it's not going to work as it should. And so we'll just save it as a Photoshop file here onto my desktop. And then what we're going to do is drag that fun image right into Lightroom. So one thing I can suggest if you guys are starting out brand new, you don't really know anything about photo editing, but you do want your photos to be at a professional looking level, is to honestly just go and buy someone's presets. And I wish this was a little plug for my own presets. No, it is not. Maybe in the future, but that's honestly what I did when I first started editing, and it does really get you over the learning curve, and it kind of excels you to the next level, so you don't have to go through that annoying process of wanting a certain look but just not being able to achieve it. So I'd suggest looking on something like Filter Grade, or go find an Instagrammer that you like. But this one, we're just going to do some pretty simple editing just so I can kind of show you guys the general thing I do for my photos. So the first thing here, the exposure, I will usually lighten it a little bit. And then the main thing is I'll go down to the highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. So the first thing I'll do is usually put the highlights down a little bit, and it is quite bright on the rocks. So by bringing down the highlights, you'll be able to put that into view a little bit more, and then usually I'll bring up the shadows, and what that will do as you can see, I missed a man in the image. He was literally hiding in the shadows, but we'll fix him in post. So I will bring up the shadows a little bit here. And then I'll kill the whites and bring up the black slightly. And this man is driving me crazy. We're gonna go in and fix him right now. So this is good, so I can actually show you guys this other tool. So this right here is kind of like the patch clone tool in Photoshop. And what you do is you can make it bigger, smaller, and then you just click like this, and then you drag this to wherever you want this circle to fill in, press enter. I'm going to do that for his feet as well. And the only thing with this tool is it's not as precise as the tool in Photoshop, I find. So for little edits like that, that's totally fine, especially if it's something dark. You won't even really notice it. So usually what I'll do with the clarity is I'll put it down a little bit, and that gives it kind of like a dream effect, as you can see here. If you put it up, it is a bit too harsh on the skin, I think. So I'll put it down just ever so slightly. And then I will bring the vibrance up. And with the tone curve, I usually will play around with this quite a bit, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just gonna go right down to the color part, which is kind of the most important part in my opinion. So if you want to get darker skin, what you can do is you can make the luminance go down like so. As you can see, too dark. That does not look natural. And I will put the saturation up a little bit. And you don't have to do too crazy of changes, but you can just play around with it and kind of see what looks best. Because I do have a red bathing suit on, I do want that to stick out a little bit, so I'm going to put the luminance up on that ever so slightly and the saturation. And next up with the coloring, so as you can see, this part is green, this part is green as well, so I'm going to desaturate that ever so slightly, and then also bring the luminance down on that. And then the hue here will change the color if you want it to be a bit more yellowish or fully green. I think it looks good when it's a bit more yellow. And then I can put the saturation down a bit more as well. And you can just go through here and adjust the colors as you like and kind of figure out what looks best with the image. And for enable profile corrections, if you want to go in here, usually that is good to do at the very start, because then you can decide, it usually lightens it quite a bit. I think it actually looks kind of good with the profile corrections. And going down here, I do want to add a little bit of grain. I usually don't add too much grain to my photos. So usually the cenotes are a really nice blue color. So what you can actually do is go to this button right here, and what we're going to be doing is turning it on color. And then this is actually going to turn into a brush tool where I can paint on any color that I want. So for the sake of being able to see where exactly I'm going, I'm going to put this all the way to the blue. And then I'm going to just paint this on like so. And what you can actually do now that this is selected is you can really change it to be any color that you want. Obviously I don't want it that blue looking, but what I can do is I can brighten this up quite a bit so it looks more of that beautiful cenote color that you see all over Instagram. And then what you want to do is, because I'm going to go to the erase tool here because I don't actually want this to be on the bridge. So then what you can do is you can go and erase that blue part from, not the bridge, the ladder. So then we want to just crop it to the Instagram ratio. So we have 8:10 here, which is the portrait mode. And I think every photo should be taken in portrait mode on Instagram personally. I think it makes it just look a lot better, and it actually takes up more of your screen. And so it attracts the eye to your page. And so I'm just going to adjust that here, just so the edge on this side is also even on this side. And then what I want to do, since I kind of have the colors starting to look how I want them to, is I'm actually going to go in and warm up the image quite a bit, because I do think this rock will look better with a bit of a warmer tone. And so here I'm just using the temperature, and I'm just toggling that towards the yellow part until it's the temperature that I want. And then you can also do the tint as well. I might want to put a little bit of pink in there. If you put it over to the green, it gets kind of like a weird green tinge, but just ever so slightly to the right as well. And once you adjust one part of the image, another part might go kind of south on you. And so as you can see, this part's looking a little bit too dark for me now. So I'll just go and click back on this thing here, and I'm going to lighten up the water ever so slightly. And I'm just going to go in here and tweak a few more things. I'm going to make it a little bit less warm, turn up the clarity ever so slightly, maybe just to -2. So we bring back a little bit of the sharpness. I also want to bring down the blacks a little, just to make it a little more contrasty. And as you can see from where we started to now, and then going all the way back to the original image, it is quite a difference just by layering it. A lot of things you see on Instagram aren't necessarily real because most images have been highly modified, but this was just a quick little tutorial into how you can take something like this and turn it into this. So I hope you guys found this helpful.
Alright guys, so that was the video. I really hope that you enjoyed watching it and you got some information out of it that might help you edit your Instagram photos better. And if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, it is always linked down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!